Right. It's going to be a quick sort of a recap. I mean, because I feel like I can more easily explain to you the complicated structure of the ear in this way. So you can have a more vibrant and a visual 3D idea as well. That's why I thought of sort of doing it as an online session, and I'll upload it to YouTube as well. So you can come back and refer it if you like, because the ear structure of the ear in two ways, right? It is in one way it is a bit difficult to understand without a sort of a proper visual idea, and the second thing, it is a likely questionable area, and I mean there have been MCQs, there have been structured essays, but there's an increasing chance of getting essays from it as well. So that's why I thought of doing it in this way. Okay, so with this basic diagram, I'll just go through what we have in sort of the external appearance of the eye, then we'll quickly jump to the software. Okay, so so we'll be doing this labeling. Okay, so there are some internal structures we need to look at. So it's a 3-step process. There's going to be the full gross idea of the ear first, then there will be a cross section of the actual hearing mechanism located in the cochlea. You can see there's a cross sectional view that we are going to look at. Then we are going to even more, we are going to zoom in even more to the sort of the machine or the mechanics of how sound waves are actually generated. Then, so this is an actual microscopic view. So now then on, we are going to go into the other functions that are done by the ear, such as maintenance of balance and the detecting motion, gravity, other things with the sort of the vestibule and the semicircular canals, right. So it's going to be a simple, very straightforward sort of session. Then at the end we are going to do some MCQs and structured essay. That will be the end of the session. Okay, any questions? No, right? So we'll jump to the software and let's see what we can do with it. Okay, I'll use some of my textbooks as a bit of a reference as well, because they have some nice diagrams, particularly this one, but we'll come there later. Okay, so we'll go to our software and okay, so the ear. Okay, so right, we'll start with sort of the external appearance of the ear. Okay, with the external appearance of the ear, as you can see, by looking at it from the outside, you can see how small and how complicated, how compacted all the inner ear structures are compared to this external ear, which is called as the pinna, right. It is the pinna, and sort of the, it's as a whole it is called as the pinna, right. In humans we are gradually sort of, the pinna has become more and more reduced, but if you take a look at cats and maybe dogs, they even have the ability to sort of rotate their ears, that is to collect the maximum amount of sound waves. But as humans, as we are evolving, we have lost the ability to sort of focus our external ear to the sort of the direction where the sound waves are coming. Okay, so our pinna is not very significant, it's not even movable. Then the other part of the external ear is this, right. It is called the external auditory meatus, right. External auditory meatus, which is, they say it's a slightly S-shaped curve, right. There's a curvature both for the protection of the sort of the inner structures, because it's a curved path. Things can't directly reach the inner ear because it's a sort of a curved path. Direct sort of objects that you can poke in your ear, right. And also it is covered with hair. It has hair, again for the protection as well as for the better transmission of sound waves. It has hair, and also it has sweat glands that are modified so that it secretes earwax. Again, earwax is there for protection because it can trap particulate matter and the earwax can sort of come out. Okay. So those are the two parts of the what we call as the external ear. Then we come to what we call as the middle ear. Okay, what we call as the middle ear. To show you the middle ear, I will use this diagram, okay, because I want you to have like a first an overall idea, right? Okay, right. So this is the partitions. This is how we partition the ear into the external, middle, and the inner ear. Okay, can you see? So the external ear is going to be our external sort of the pinna, also the auricle, then the external acoustic meatus up to this. This is the separation between the external ear and the middle ear, which is the tympanic membrane. Okay, tympanic membrane. From the tympanic membrane to the what we call as the lateral wall of the vestibule. So this structure is the vestibule. Okay, this is this sort of expanded part near here is the vestibule. This sort of this gap, can you see, from the tympanic membrane to the lateral wall of the vestibule, we call it the middle ear. The middle ear is an air-filled cavity and it has three bones. We will study in detail about these three bones, malleus, incus and stapes. Okay. Then we come to the inner ear where most of the mechanics of the ear happens, okay, where most of the sort of the hearing mechanics of the, the machinery is there in the inner ear, okay. So in the inner ear we have the three semicircular canals and there's this expanded part called the vestibule and then you have your coiled cochlea, okay. So clear about the external ear, middle ear and inner ear, okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. All good, right? People who just joined? Okay, right. Okay, so then we'll move on to the software again. So you can see, so we have discussed up to this tympanic membrane, right? So we have discussed up to this tympanic membrane. You can see it is the sort of the partition between the external ear and the middle ear, right? So you can see in contact with the tympanic membrane, you have this bone. These three bones are the smallest bones in your body. These three bones are the smallest bones in your body. Okay. So in contact with the tympanic membrane, can you see? That is the what? That is the malleus. Okay. So malleus has several parts. So that is the malleus. And if you when we turn it this way, you can see in contact with the malleus is the second bone or the second ear ossicle. We call these ossicles of the ear the incus, malleus, then incus. Okay. Then finally we come to the smallest bone, which is called stapes. Stapes. Okay. Stapes, we have a stirrup. Have you seen our cowboys? On the two sides of the horse saddles, they cowboys and they put their legs in the and they used to sort of signal the horse as well. Can you see that sort of shape is there, no? Stirrups, again, stirrups. Okay. So it's the stapes. Okay. It's the stapes. So that is the middle ear. So that is the end of the middle ear. You can see from here to here the middle ear extends. Got it? Then I told you the middle ear is filled with air. That air is coming to the middle ear through this tube. Okay, the air is coming it is in contact with the atmosphere. We say the middle ear is in contact with the atmosphere through this tube, which is called the eustachian tube. Eustachian tube. Okay, eustachian tube actually goes and opens to the pharynx. Pharynx here. Okay, so that's why. Sometimes when you have a throat infection, pharyngitis again, right? A sort of viral infection, throat infection, it can go along the eustachian tube and go and infect the middle ear. Okay, the middle ear can become infected. We call it otitis media. Okay, middle ear infection. So through this eustachian tube, infections can come, but at the normal, at a healthy person, the function of the eustachian tube is to maintain atmospheric pressure between the middle ear as well as, to maintain atmospheric pressure in the middle ear by connecting it to the pharynx. Got it? Okay. So that is the middle ear done. The malleus is in contact with the tympanic membrane and so it extends from the tympanic membrane to this what we call as the vestibule. I will remove this sort of the nerve that is going there. Okay. So this expanded part in the middle ear, sorry, inner ear is called the vestibule. Okay. So vestibule has two parts. Okay. I mean, vestibule has two parts that are expanded, not clearly visible in the software. I'll explain later. Called the utricle and saccule, that I'll show you later. Okay. So you can see this stirrup or the stay piece is in contact with the side wall or the lateral wall of the vestibule. When we remove this vestibule, or the stay piece, you can see there's a opening here that is called the oval window. It's like a rectangle, but it's called the oval window. Okay, sound waves, okay, are going to enter the inner ear through this oval window. Always remember, through the oval window, enter. Okay, sound waves enter through the oval window. Got it? Then we will look at the different inner workings of this vestibule. Then connected to this vestibule, you have your three semicircular canals. So 1, 2 and 3. Can you see? If we draw like a graph, it's like the x-axis, the y-axis, the x-axis and the z. No? Right? The three planes of space. Right? So the semicircular canals are located so that they cover all three planes of 3D space. Right? They cover all planes of 3D space. Can you see? So they are like a very sensitive, very sensitive sort of a machine that is used to detect motion. It's a motion sensor, right, of your body. What is your body doing? Is it moving forward? Is it moving backward? This is moving sideways. It is becoming rotated. Near merry-go-round or like a sort of what we call as that sort of, what do you call those? There's a train that is going along. What do you call that? Roller coaster, right? When you're going on a roller coaster, these semicircular canals are being like overstimulated because you are going up and down, forward and backward, right? Got it? So semicircular canals are located in the three planes of space. Then we move on to this. This is the cochlea. Cochlea is mainly involved in your hearing. It is your hearing organ, the cochlea. It is a coiled organ, as you can see. Okay. And what I wanted to show you before is like everything, all these inner ear structures are located within the bone. This is bone everywhere. What is this bone? On the side of your skull, cranium, which bone do you have here? Which bone do you have? Which bone do you have on the side? Skull bone. Yeah? Yeah. Yes. Okay, skull tamai. Hari, what is specifically what bone in the skull? There's two on the sides. The temporal bone. Okay? This all is the temporal bone, right? It's all temporal bone. So temporal bone has spaces for these inner ear structures. Okay? So there is the external view, and you can see this is the from the cochlea. If you take a look at from behind, like a mushroom. These are all the nerve fibers that are coming out of the cochlea to form the what we call as the auditory nerve. That is actually called the cochlear nerve. That is going to go for the temporal lobes of the brain cortex, cerebral cortex. So that you can hear things, you can hear sounds. Yeah. Okay. Then there are other nerves. Okay. These nerves are sort of related to your balance, vestibulocochlear nerves. They are related to your balance maintenance. So these nerves are going from the vestibule as well as the semicircular canals. So this is the basic external appearance. Okay. So this is the basic external appearance. Hurry. Now the gross anatomy is fine, no? How all the all the ear structures are sort of related to each other, now you know. Okay. So now we are going to see how the ear functions in its sort of, when you say ear, what comes to your mind? Hearing. No? So we are going to see how the ear functions in its what is the physiology of hearing. Okay. So, okay, these are all sort of structures. Yeah. So this is how the actual tympanic membrane is like. Okay, right? Can you see? This is how the real tympanic membrane is like when you use an instrument called the otoscope. Have you seen when you go to the doctor, there's a small, there's a handheld device that you can put in the ear and you can look inside the ear called the otoscope. Then pain. Okay, this is the tympanic membrane. Okay, so this is how the middle ear sort of looks like, that you don't need. Okay, these are the three bones. This is the malleus, this is the incus, and this is the stapes. Okay, right? Those are the three bones. They are the smallest bones in your body. Okay, smallest bones in your body. Right. Okay. So I told you this is all bone. Can you see? This is all temporal bone, right? So there are spaces. It's like a nice sort of a puzzle, right? Inside your temporal bone, there's space. There's like dedicated space carved out of nikang. It's like carved out of the bone to exactly accommodate your inner ear structures. You can see the bone is like nicely, it's like part of a sort of a puzzle, no? So that is called the bony labyrinth. That is called the bony labyrinth, right? So all the inner ear components are sort of nicely fitting into the temporal bone in the bony labyrinth. In the bony labyrinth, you have a system of membranes that is containing all the inner ear sort of soft tissue. That is called the membranous labyrinth. That is called the membranous labyrinth. So inside the bony labyrinth, you have the membranous labyrinth. Okay. So you can see also the tympanic membrane and three ear ossicles, and this is called the oval window. Then I didn't mention there's another window on this lateral side. So this is the lateral window. If I stand here, okay, if I stand here, this is my right ear. This is the outside of my right ear. Can you see? This ear is to this right. So when I say lateral, lateral means to the side, no? To the side. So this is the lateral side of the vestibule, right vestibule. So on the lateral wall of the vestibule, you have the oval window, and there's another window called the round window. Always remember, oval window is the entry, round window is the exit. For what? Sound waves. Okay, for sound waves. So that's what we are going to see next, how all this works. So this is another diagram of this membranous labyrinth, how there's a nice system of membranes inside the vestibule. Okay, so this is the saccule. Okay, this is the saccule, right? And this is called the utricle. We'll talk about those later. And this is how inside the three semicircular canals you have a fluid field. The membranes contain a fluid. Okay, so the membranes contain a fluid, and that fluid filled environment, how it's contained within the membranous labyrinth. There are another. Got it? So now let's move on to how sound waves are traveling. To understand that, you need to know the cross-sectional idea. You need to have a cross-sectional idea of the cochlea. When you sort of cut the cochlea into a slice, how is it going to look like? Okay, it is going to have three, we say, compartments. Okay, don't think about these names here, right? So when you cut the cochlea, you take the cochlea out, you straighten out the cochlea, you take it out, and you take a cross sectional view. This is how it's going to look like. Okay, it has three chambers. Upper one is called the vestibular canal, lower one is called the tympanic canal, and the middle you have what? What is it given in your resource? It's given as, yeah, upper vestibular, lower tympanic, and middle cochlear duct. Yes. Okay, right. So middle cochlear duct. So these are the three chambers or the three compartments if you take a cross section of the cochlea. Okay, so that idea I want you to have. Now let's see how a sound wave travels once it enters. Harid, oh no, this is the pathway of a sound wave. Pay close attention. Harid. So let's follow it with me. So through the external auditory meatus, a sound wave is going to enter. A sound wave is going to enter, and that sound wave, it's a physical energy, no? So it's a mechanical energy, you know these things from physics, no? That is going to cause a vibration or a physical energy sort of a deformation on this tympanic membrane. So this tympanic membrane is going to vibrate. That is going to make the malleus vibrate. That is going to make the incus vibrate. In return, the stapes also vibrates. There's a nice sort of a effect here. The effect of the sound waves vibrating the tympanic membrane is going to be magnified or amplified by these three bones. They are arranged in such a way that they increase the sort of the physical wave. The wave that is generated by the tympanic membrane is going to be sort of magnified by these three bones. Okay, that's why you have this sort of physical connection. They are physical amplifiers. Okay, so then the stapes is in contact with the oval window. So there's like a pumping action. Pump because the tympanic membrane is vibrating. That is magnified by the three bones, and they are like pumping the oval window. This whole system is filled with fluid. This whole system is filled with fluid, so that this pumping or the vibration of the stapes on the oval window is going to generate some waves. Can you see? Maybe it's generating some waves. Those waves are going to be transmitted throughout the fluid like this. Can you see? It is going to cause pressure waves in the middle vestibular canal, right? I'm sorry, middle cochlear duct, right? Middle cochlear duct where the hearing happens. So the sound waves travel like this. It's going to come the full circle, and after the sound waves are generated, after the sound wave generation is complete, they are going to go out of the round window, right? They enter from the oval window, they go out of the round window. Got it? After their job is done, they cannot remain inside the inner ear. They actually vibrate, right? Right? So after the sort of a sound impulse is generated, they have to go out. They enter from oval, they go out of the round. Got it? Clear? So that's all I have to sort of visually show you, right? Later we'll, once we have gone through the sort of the resource book content, we'll come back to the software again. Okay, so any questions? Any questions up till now? Yeah, anything? Anything? Got it? Okay, right. Okay. Give me a moment. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, so let's quickly go through the resource book content. Any questions? There's a question. Where does sound go after exiting from the round window? It is dissipated. So can you see? Round window is here. This is the round window. This is the round window. Can you see? Small round window. So after sound waves are dissipated out of the round window, it is connected to the middle ear. No? Middle ear is connected to the atmosphere. So through the through the eustachian tube, it can go into the pharynx, dissipated into the atmosphere. Got it? This just dissipated into the atmosphere. Okay, let's quickly label this. I hope you can see the sort of the demarcations up to the tympanic membrane. Up to the tympanic membrane, it is the outer ear. Up to the tympanic membrane, it is the outer ear. Then between the tympanic membrane and the sort of the lateral wall of the vestibule, it is the middle ear. Then everything inner to it is the inner ear. Okay. So let's label these things. I hope all of you have got the tute. Okay. I think it was delivered some time ago. So we'll go from the outside to inside. Okay. So it is already labeled. This is the pinna, and this is the auditory canal, or you can call it external auditory meatus. Okay. External auditory meatus. Then what is this? This is the tympanic membrane. Okay, tympanic membrane. Yes. All right. This is the tympanic membrane. Then malleus, incus, and stapes are labeled. So what is the opening that is covered by stapes? What is the opening that is covered by stapes? That is the oval window. Stapes covers the oval window. Then this opening is what? That is the opening through which sound waves exit. That is the round window. Okay. Then what else is missing? These are the semicircular canals. Sorry, semicircular canals. Okay. So it's just given as auditory nerve to the brain, right? Auditory nerve actually has several parts. There is like hearing nerve as well as the balance and that coordination nerve from the semicircular canal. So you don't need to know that. It is just the auditory canal. Then this is the eustachian tube. Be careful of the spelling. Eustachian tube, that is connecting the ear, middle ear to the pharynx. Eustachian tube. Then this is the cochlea. The cochlea. Okay. Auditory nerve is labeled. Then we move on to this cross section of the cochlea. You can see, right? Let's label this cross section of the cochlea. So the outer canal, or let's say the upper canal, is called the vestibular canal. Okay, upper canal is called the vestibular canal, and the middle one, which is the sort of, let's say, functionally most important one, you can see this one is called what? What is the middle canal? Yeah, that is called the cochlear duct. Cochlear duct again made. Okay, this is the cochlear duct, and the bottom one is called the tympanic canal. So it's already given, tympanic canal. Okay, then there's a specialized organ that is running the entire length throughout the flow of the cochlear duct. Throughout the flow of the cochlear duct, that is our machine of hearing, or the hearing sensor, or your microphone, right, in your ear. That is called organ of Corti. That is how you detect hearing, by this sort of organ that is extending through the flow of the tympanic canal, sorry, cochlear duct. That is called the organ of Corti. Okay, organ of Corti. And you can see this is the auditory nerve leaving from the collection of organ of Corti. I showed you the backward view. So from the entire cochlea, all the nerve fibers converge to form the auditory nerve that is going out. Okay. So, we are going to zoom in to the organ of Corti further. We are going to zoom into the organ of Corti. Okay. What can you see? Yeah, if we zoom into the organ of Corti, we call the flow of the cochlear duct. The mekane cochlear duct, this whole thing is the cochlear duct. This sort of this is the cochlear duct. Got it? So, the flow of the cochlear duct, as you can see, it is labeled. The flow of the cochlear duct is called what? Yeah, anybody? Flow of the cochlear duct is called what? Basilar membrane, right? It's easy to remember. Base, okay? Basilar membrane. Basilar membrane, basilar membrane. Then what else do you mean to label? So, all these are, right, these yellow color ones are what? They are your hair cells. They are the hair cells that are sensitive. I mean, I'll explain the actual hearing mechanism. Hair cells, okay. Those are the auditory hair cells. So, what's going to happen is, I told you, from the oval window sound waves enter, okay, oval window sound waves enter, and they travel through the fluid that is filling this vestibular canal. The fluid that is present in this vestibular canal, it is going to come, I mean, while it is going through the vestibular canal and also while it's coming back to the tympanic canal, it is going to press on the cochlear duct. It is pressing on the cochlear duct, right. So, when it is pressing on the cochlear duct, what's going to happen? This basilar membrane is vibrating. The flow of the cochlear duct is vibrating. What's going to happen is, the flow or the basilar membrane contains the organ of Corti. Organ of Corti has these auditory hair cells. Okay. These auditory hair cells, as you can see, there's a box there as well. This is a magnified view of these auditory hair cells, as you can see, right. These are the hairs that are sticking out of this organ of Corti, right. Can you see the yellow color hairs? Okay. What's going to happen is, these hairs are in contact. These hairs are in contact with a what? There's another membrane that is sort of hanging on the top of this organ of Corti, that is called what? Tectorial membrane. Very, very important. There are so many names you have to remember. Tectorial membrane. Okay, this is called the tectorial membrane. That is hanging over the organ of Corti. Tectorial membrane. What's going to happen is, when the basilar membrane or the flow is vibrating, the hair cells are going up and down. That is when what's going to happen is, the hairs of the hair cells are going to come into contact with the tectorial membrane and they are going to bend. They are going to bend in this way and that. So, that sort of bending of the hair cells will be translated to what? Action potentials that will be transmitted along the auditory nerve. That is how you convert sort of the mechanical energy of the sound waves into nerve impulses, okay, into nerve impulses. Clear? That is the mechanism of hearing. Any questions about the parts of the sort of the ear as well as the sort of the hearing mechanism, right? So, hearing is actually, I mean, let's say it is the main function, but it's also not the only function. There are several other functions. Okay, right. So, let's read the resource book a bit again. I mean, let's read the resource book. Okay. The cochlear cross section, these are the parts. So, if I tell you what is given in the resource, okay. So, let's read about the cochlea, which is given in page number 25. Okay. Cochlea is a coil structure with a broad base which is continuous with the vestibule. The cochlea has three compartments: upper vestibular canal, and lower tympanic canal, and the middle, cochlear duct, which is a small canal that separates the upper and lower canals. Okay. Vestibular canal originates at the oval window and the tympanic canal ends at the round window. Can you remember I showed you? The journey of this sound wave start at the oval window, which is the beginning of the vestibular canal. Okay, which is the beginning of the vestibular canal, and they end at the round window, which is the sort of the ending of the tympanic canal. The two canals are continuous with each other, and yes, there's an important point. These two canals, the vestibular canal and the tympanic canal, are both filled with a fluid called perilymph. Right? They are filled with a fluid called perilymph. These two tympanic and vestibular canals are filled with a fluid called perilymph. Okay? The tympanic and the vestibular are filled with a fluid called perilymph. Got it? The cochlear duct is part of the membranous labyrinth. It is filled with endolymph. So this inner cochlear duct is filled with a different fluid that is called as the endolymph. Okay, it is filled with endolymph. The flow of the cochlear duct is called the basilar membrane. I told you the flow of the cochlear duct is called the basilar membrane, and which bears the organ of Corti. So the basilar membrane is where this organ of Corti is located. Okay, contains supporting cells and specialized cochlear hair cells containing mechanoreceptors. So you can see these are the mechanoreceptors. Can you see the inner, the sort of the inside the hair cells? Can you see the mechanoreceptors? Hairs of the cochlear hair cells project into the cochlear duct. Hairs of the hair cells, cochlear duct. Many hairs are in contact with the tectorial membrane. So this is the tectorial membrane that hangs over the organ of Corti. Hair cells synapse with the dendrites of the sensory neurons that combine to form the auditory nerve, which transmits auditory information to the brain. Okay, that's what happens. Clear? Okay, so that is the hearing mechanism. So there are some additional things in the resource about hearing. Okay, we'll quickly go through. Okay, I sort of explain this. If you, where is the perilymph and endolymph? I just told you. In the vestibular canal and the tympanic canal, it is filled with perilymph. The middle cochlear duct is filled with endolymph. Got it? Right? I'll go back to the previous diagram, then I'll show it to you again. Okay? So for hearing, what you need to know is, okay, sound waves enter through the external auditory meatus. Okay? So that is a mechanical wave, no? So the mechanical wave, that will be collected by the outer ear. Okay? That will be collected by the outer ear and concentrated and directs them to the auditory canal, which is leading to the tympanic membrane. Okay, then it causes the tympanic membrane to vibrate. I am following the resource book so that you can follow with this diagram as well. Okay, tympanic membrane vibrations are transmitted and amplified through the middle ear by the three jointed ear ossicles. So these are the three ear ossicles: malleus, incus, and stapes. Okay, the ear ossicles transmit the vibrations to the oval window. This is the oval window, which is located on the membrane of the cochlear surface. Right. So this is, so actually it is the lateral wall of the vestibule. Okay. When stapes vibrates against the oval window, pressure waves are created in the perilymph. Right. So where do you have perilymph? Vestibular canal, because I told you the vestibular canal begins at the oval window. Okay. I think it's easier if I just jump back to that previous diagram to show you this. Okay. So it's like this. Can you see? This is the what? The vestibular canal. Right? This is the vestibular canal up until here. This is the vestibular canal until here. Vestibular canal becomes the tympanic canal at the sort of the ending of this coil. Right? The scala vestibuli. So that is the vestibular canal. Okay. The vestibular canal begins at the oval window. Okay, vestibular canal begins at the oval window. Then it converts to the tympanic canal right here. Okay. Then the sound waves also travel there. When the sound waves are traveling throughout these two canals, what's going to happen is, can you see? This purple color line is the organ of Corti. That is, organ of Corti extends throughout the cochlear duct. Okay, extends throughout the complete length of the cochlea, right? So you can see the middle blue canal is the cochlear duct. The middle blue canal is the cochlear duct. Okay, so the tympanic canal begins, sorry, the vestibular canal begins at the oval window. It is filled with perilymph and it converts into the tympanic canal at the ending of the sort of the cochlea. Both are filled with perilymph. In the middle, you have the cochlear duct, which bears the organ of Corti. That has a separate fluid that is called the endolymph. It has a separate fluid called the endolymph. Okay, that is the story. Clear? Coming back to the diagram, right? So when stapes vibrates against the oval window, pressure waves are created in the perilymph inside the cochlea. So perilymph is found in this vestibular canal. Okay. Most fluid pressure waves in the vestibular canal are transmitted to the endolymph of the cochlear duct, which push down on the basilar membrane. So the basilar membrane is pushed down. As a result, basilar membrane and the attached hair cells vibrate up and down with the basilar membrane. What is moving together with the basilar membrane? The hair cells. Okay, the hair cells are vibrating up and down. This causes bending of the hairs. Against the tectoral membrane. So this tectoral membrane is like a roof. Okay? It's like a roof hanging over the organ of Corti. So the hairs are going to be bending over this tectoral membrane. This results in stimulation of auditory receptors in the auditory hair cells, which lead to the generation of nerve impulses. These nerve impulses are passed through the auditory nerve to the auditory area of the brain. Highlight in your resource. What is the auditory area in your brain? The temporal lobe. මේ දෙපැත්ත. ඉතින් ඊයර් එකට ළඟින්ම තමයි ලොකේට් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. For the වැඩි දුර cables අදින්න ඕනේ නැහැ. No need to send nerve impulses too far away. They are just exactly located very close to the ear. After the sound perception, the fluid wave is dissipated. The fluid wave is dissipated into the middle ear by the vibration of the round window. You can see this is the round window. Ne? So after the generation, sound waves are not kept inside the inner ear; they are dissipated to the outside. Eustachian tube maintains air pressure on both sides of the tympanic membrane at atmospheric pressure level. Okay, that is done by the Eustachian tube. There is a function of the Eustachian tube. Okay, clear? Any questions? Auditory nerve, right? There's nothing much for you to know about the auditory nerve except that all the hair cells, okay, what you need to know is that the hair cells are connected to the axons. I mean, the axons of the hair cells, they become the auditory nerve. So, what do you know about a nerve? What do you mean by a nerve? It's a collection of axons, right? It's the collection of axons, right? So, the nerve cell bodies are located here, that is the hair cells, right? From the hair cells, there are axons coming out. Those axons are like bundled together like a rope, right? They are bundled together like a rope. So, that rope like the bundle of axons is the auditory nerve. Any nerve is like that, optic nerve, auditory nerve, right? That nerve is sort of the connecting cable to the temporal lobe. Okay? There is a connecting cable to the temporal lobe. Special protection. Is there any special protection in the organ of Corti? I mean, the main protection to the inner ear is by basically sort of keeping it inside the temporal lobe, temporal bone. Okay, because in the bony labyrinth of the temporal bone, there's a lot of protection, right? And also, this, I mean, you mean from excessive sound waves, excessive vibration. What can happen is when the ear is subjected to excessive sound waves, the sort of the early structures are the damaged things. So when you are subjected to excessive sound waves, the tympanic membrane can get ruptured. Kana පැලෙනවා කියලා කිය, right? When you hit someone here because of the pressure wave of the sort of the slap, there's going to be a lot of air pressure inside the external ear, so the tympanic membrane can get ruptured. Okay, tympanic membrane can get ruptured. It can heal by itself. The tympanic membrane, most of the time, it heals by itself. Again, it is going to get better by itself. If not, we can do a surgery and sort of repair the tympanic membrane as well. Okay, so the tympanic membrane එක තමයි මුලින්ම out යන්නේ. Okay, if there is excessive sound waves. Got it? And when you have a inner ear, sort of a middle ear infection, you sort of a throat infection, you lose the ability to hear as well, right? When you have a throat infection, you feel like your ears are sort of blocked. When you have a throat infection, that is because through the eustachian tube, the infection is going into the ear. The tectoral membrane is what causes these hair cells to bend, right? Without a tectoral membrane hanging over these hair cells, there's nothing for the hair cells to bend against. The tectoral membrane එක වැදිලා තමයි hair cells bend. That is how you convert the mechanical energy in this endolymph into nerve signals. You need some sort of a you need some sort of a change that can be detected or that can be converted to action potentials. That's how you generate nerve impulses. So in here, it is very mechanical, no? You can understand, right? I mean, you are detecting sound at the end. So what are the different energy conversions? So make a as a sound wave, like air pressure waves. Longitudinal waves. Physics okay, they are called as longitudinal waves, right? Sound waves. Yeah, sound waves are coming like that. Then they are converted to mechanical energy. Mechanical energy means sort of by the vibration of the bones. Then they are converted to fluid pressure waves. Fluid pressure, okay? That is the fluid pressure that is traveling through the vestibular, then through the cochlear duct. Then again it is converted to mechanical energy deformation by the bending of hair cells. Then it is converted to what? The change in membrane potential, voltage difference that is traveling as, so you can say voltage, electric potentials. Yeah. How many waves, sort of different energy conversions are there in the sort of the process of hearing? Okay. Clear? Okay, then we can move on to the other function that is performed by your ear, that is the maintenance of balance, okay, or you can say equilibrium. Right, page number 27, okay, then I'll explain these structures. I'll explain what is using ear balance, that is related to equilibrium. So, who are the structures that are associated with maintaining ear balance? It's these three people. May I? That is the three semicircular canals and this vestibule. Cochlea is involved in hearing. So, apita cochlea එක මෙතෙන්ට ඕන වෙන්නේ. Got it? The semicircular canals and the vestibule located in the inner ear provide information about position of the head in space and contribute to maintain posture and balance. That is because we as humans, we are much more complicated in our motion because we are bipedal, because we are in a certain way, we are very unstable because we are very tall like this and we only use two legs. Yeah? So you know our center of gravity is pretty high, right? Our center of gravity is very high up and we only use two legs for movement. So we are very unstable. So if you want to walk properly and just stand without falling down, it's going to require a lot of sensation. Then that's why have you seen this, I don't know about the exact concept. These sort of humanoid robots, have you seen humanoid robots? Human sort of behavior in a robot line. Those robots are very difficult to build. Why is that? because the human movement is very complicated. To maintain balance, they require a lot of sensors and gyroscopes or so many processing power is there. It's easier to build these sort of robo dogs and other things, no? Sort of other sort of four-legged robots. It's very easy to build, but not very easy to build a sort of a humanoid one, right? Like these sort of the early humanoid robots, they always keep falling down. They can't even climb downstairs, right? That's because it requires a lot of processing power and a lot of sensors. That's what we are going to discuss now. So semicircular canals and the vestibule provide information about position of the head in space and contribute to maintain posture and balance. The utricle and the saccule detect, of the vestibule perceive position with respect to gravity or linear movements. Right. So that's what we are going to talk about. This structure. Okay. Each of these endolymph filled chambers contain hair cells that project into a gelatinous material in which small calcium carbonate particles, otoliths, are embedded. When the head is tilted, the otoliths press on the hairs, causing hairs projecting into the gel, bending the hair bundle. Okay. These deflections in the hair cells cause membrane potential changes which are transmitted as nerve impulses. All right. So we have to talk about otoliths, right? I'll show you how this works. So again, it's very when you think about it, it's very primitive in one another way, right? Because at the end, it is going to be sort of this calcium filled sort of calcium granules that are actually in the end that are causing your your perception of gravity is actually determined by this sort of calcium pieces of calcium that are moving here and there. Okay, so hold on, I need to find a diagram that is best for that. Okay, right. Right. I will share the screen again for you. Okay. Otoliths, they work like this. I'll send this diagram to the group as well. So this is what we are talking about. So there are two ways. So you can see the utricle. This is the utricle and saccule. Utricle and saccule means there are two sacs that are located in this big structure called the vestibule. There are two separate sacs in the big structure that is called the vestibule. So vestibule detects motion, linear motion and also gravity. Which way is downwards they detect. Okay, which way is downwards. Right. So these are the otoliths. These are calcium channels. Then there are hair cells here as well. What's going to happen is when you move up and down, gravity. Okay. So imagine sort of in this sort of carnivals, you have these sort of fun rides that are lifting you up and book and drop karan, right? That's when you feel zero gravity, right? We are falling under free falling under gravity. So then what's going to happen is there you have these otoliths which are sort of dense, no? Right? These otoliths, they are going upwards. So they are sort of detaching themselves from these hair cells. But imagine you are moving linear motion forward and backward. What's going to happen is when your head is being moved forward or accelerating forward, okay? When you're accelerating forward, what's going to happen? These otoliths are going to go what? Backwards. When you're accelerating forward, the head is moving forward, these otoliths are going to go backwards. So what's going to happen? These hair cells are going to bend this way. That changing or the bending of the hair cells are again going to be detected by the hair cells and that will be transmitted as a signal along their axons as a nerve, right? Vestibular nerve. Got it? That is how otoliths work, right? Otoliths. Then there's a separate mechanism how semicircular canals work. Okay, how semicircular canals work, I'll explain to it with the other diagram that we had. Okay, clear. right? Come back to the tute. I will send this diagram to the group so that in addition to the one in the tute, you have this diagram as well. So clear? There are calcium carbonate particles which are called otoliths. When the head is tilted, press on the hairs projecting into the gels, bending the hair bundle. These deflections in the hair cells cause membrane potential changes which are transmitted as nerve impulses. Right? So at the end, it is these calcium carbonate otoliths that are detecting the changing the head movement. Got it? The matakada in when we were doing plant form, we talked about gravitropism. Ne? We talked about gravitropism, right? How there's a sort of, if there's a root that is growing like this, how it's going to bend downwards towards the earth, bend towards gravity. Etanadat tibba statoliths. Oh no. Etanadat tibba, there's a sort of a type of lith. Ne? I just mentioned it. There was another lith. So here it's otolith. Etanamonat tibbe. In gravitropism, what did you have? In gravitropism, what did you have? Gravitropism. Statolith hypothesis. They are dense starch granules. I'm not getting enough response. Right? Mataka the statoliths, those are dense starch granules, no? But now in your ear, what do you have? Calcium carbonate granules which are called otoliths, calcium carbonate particles. Okay? Right? Then we move on to the semicircular canals. What is done by the semicircular canals? So I told you they are located in the three spatial planes. Okay, at the base of each of these semicircular canals, can you see? At the base, at the base of these semicircular canals, right? There are hair cells that are, so they are sort of this expanded area, right? Can you see? And there again you have hairs. Hairs are there. There are hairs that are projecting into a gel cap. This is a gel cap, which is called the cupula. Okay, so that name you don't need, right? It's not given. Hair cells form a cluster with the hair projecting into a gelatinous cap. So this is the gelatinous cap. Changes in the position of the head cause movement in the perilymph and the endolymph. As a result, hair cells are stimulated and the resulting nerve impulses are transmitted to the brain. Got it? So this is the gelatinous cap. So actually, your semicircular canals detect angular movements. Angular. What do you mean by angular? When you are taking a bend, you are traveling in a vehicle and it's taking a bend. That angular movement will be detected by the semicircular canals. For example, you are riding in a merry-go-round. That is detected by your semicircular canals. Got it? So, I mean, whatever plane that you are rotating, you are turning to this side, whatever plane you are rotating, there is going to be a semicircular canal because they are located in all three planes of space. There is a semicircular canal in all three planes of space. So, the semicircular canals are able to detect motion or angular motion in any plane of space. Got it? So, that in there you do not have sort of calcium carbonate otoliths are not there. There you only have, here you only have this gelatinous cap. Okay, that name is not given. So, together with the hair cells, the gelatinous cap sort of bends this way and that way. Okay. That is why nerve impulses are generated and the bending of the hairs causes a nerve impulse generation, and that signal will be transmitted along. Here it is again, this is the vestibulocochlear nerve, right? Yeah, it is the vestibular nerve, will be transmitted to the brain. Mainly your cerebellum. The cerebellum asks for this information because cerebellum is involved in maintenance of balance. So, cerebellum has a supply from the vestibulocochlear nerve. Okay. The utricle and the saccule of the vestibule detect what? Linear acceleration. On Buggala, you are accelerating forward. In a vehicle, you are accelerating or braking. That will be detected by the vestibular, sort of the utricle and saccule or otoliths. angular moments are by semicircular canals. Angular moments are by semicircular canals. Got it? Any questions? Let's quickly do some questions. Right? Let's quickly do some questions, and then I think the paper class people are already joined. Right? Make Kanban Taggala and send me the answer. Question number 22. Send me the answer. Okay. Send to the main chat if it's possible. Okay. What's the answer? Which of the following structures of the human ear are filled with endolymph? Okay. Endolymph. Where do you have endolymph? Yeah. Where do you have endolymph? So, upper vestibular canal, upper canal is the vestibular canal, upper canal is the vestibular canal, and the lower part or the mehema taggala, you can draw this, right? There are three parts, right? There are three parts. This is the upper vestibular, lower tympanic, mother cochlear. Neither upper vestibular, lower tympanic, and middle cochlear. So, the upper and this your vestibular and tympanic, they are filled with what? Perilymph, no? They are filled with peri. So, who has endolymph? Only the cochlea. So, these two are wrong. Yeah. Then, cochlear duct, yes. Utricle, yes. Utricle is filled with endolymph because it's part of the inner membrane system. No? So, you can see it's part of the inner membrane system. I will show you this again, right. So, vestibular canal false, tympanic canal false, cochlear duct yes, saccule yes, utricle, saccule, vestibular canal no, cochlear duct, utricle and saccule. Answer number 5. Okay. So, always remember endolymph is found in what? Membranous labyrinth, part of the membranous labyrinth. Okay. Endolymph is found in membranous labyrinth. Right. Api, is there another question? People who enrolled to the website this month, I think you got delivered this tute, right? Right. So, there's going to be a new one for the endocrine. Okay. There's going to be a new one for the endocrine. And there's another MCQ. Was there another MCQ? I can't exactly remember. Was there another one? I don't think. No, ne? Yeah, this has a small part from the year. We make a tag gala karo. Tag gala can make. Question number 3. What's the answer? It's all from, I mean, it's nicely covering up the entire sort of the sensory receptors, because now we have done all the sensory receptors, including mechanoreceptors, chemoreceptors, vibration, mechanical, right? Everything we have done, visual. So, taste and smell, or your olfaction, they are your chemoreceptors, right? Taste and smell are your chemoreceptors. Then they say receptors for taste are modified neurons. Is it correct? Taste receptors are modified epithelial cells. No, they are modified epithelial cells that are sort of together with the supporting cells. They form the taste buds. Olfactory receptors show sensory adaptation. That make biogram නැති කෙනෙක්ට උනත් හිතන්න පුළුවන්. What do you mean by adaptation? Over time you get used to something. That is an adaptation. Then imagine the garbage truck came that day, and for a few, you know, it's going to linger for a few hours, no? So garbage truck came and collected the garbage, and they compacted, and all the juices are on the road. Within like at least 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to forget that there's a smell, right? But the smell is there for like 2-3 hours. But after some time, you are going to get adapted. So olfaction, yes, shows sensory adaptation. Okay. Ruffini corpuscles detect cold. No, Ruffini for Rusney. Okay. Ruffini detect warmth. Okay. Cones are more sensitive. No. Cones provide color vision, right? But they are not sensitive. Rods are more sensitive, but they are only sensitive. They can only provide you black and white vision. Hair cells of the vestibule detect angular movements. No. Who is detecting angular movements? Semicircular canals. Okay. Semicircular canals detect angular movements. Got it? Clear? Yes, I think one or two structured essay question. Make a Taggala Kanban. What is the function of the eustachian tube? One moment. Okay. Taggala Kanban. What is the function of the eustachian tube? What is the function of the eustachian tube? That's not a complete answer. It has 2 rows to write the answer, so we need the complete answer. Exactly. Maintains air pressure on both sides of the tympanic membrane at atmospheric pressure level. Okay, maintains air pressure on both sides of the tympanic membrane at atmospheric pressure level. Because why? From the external ear side, the tympanic membrane is exposed to atmospheric air. So, if the pressures are not equal, you are going to, you know physics, no? Right? If there is a pressure difference, the tympanic membrane is definitely going to be sucked or pushed. Or they can cut, yeah? It's either going to be sucked or pushed. Yeah? So, have you experienced when, if you are going Norelli or something, climbing up the hill country rapidly in a vehicle, your ears are going to become locked. That's because outside pressure is dropping. The pressure outside your tympanic membrane. So, this is the tympanic membrane, and this is the external ear, and this is the middle ear. This is the middle ear, and this is the eustachian tube. Okay, this is the eustachian tube. Okay, so here the pressure is dropping. That means the pressure from this side is increasing because outside pressure is dropping, no? When you are climbing to upper regions, sort of higher altitudes, the pressure is dropping, no? So therefore, what's going to happen? When you are climbing to higher regions, the pressure is dropping on the sort of the external ear, and in the inner ear it is still the atmospheric pressure. So that's why we feel sort of a uncomfortable sort of a feeling, right? We feel uncomfortable in our ear because there's a pressure difference. So what is the relief? How can you kang lock what can you do? What is the remedy for your sort of ear blockage that is caused by this sudden altitude change? You can sort of swallow some saliva, or drink some water, right? What's going to happen? When you sort of stimulate your pharynx here, what's going to happen? Through the eustachian tube, some fresh air is going to come. Okay, that fresh air is coming from the atmosphere. So that new air is going to equalize the pressure. It's going to decrease the pressure in the middle ear side as well. It is going to decrease the pressure in the middle ear side as well. So both pressures are going to be equalized. So the tympanic membrane, sort of that uncomfortable nature, is going to go away. Okay, you can either start chewing gum or drink some water, swallow some saliva. Okay, do something like that. Okay, right. So that is the function of the tympanic membrane. Are we clear? Okay, so that is the end of this structure of the ear. Okay. So in the revision class, we are going to write an essay. Proper revision class on this Sunday, we are going to write an essay, and then we are going to discuss that. And then we have skin to discuss that will be completed on this Sunday at the revision class. Okay. So this session I held it as a special one because it is easier for me to explain using these diagrams and the software. Got it? Okay. Then at 5:30, in another 5 minutes, we will start the paper class. Okay. Right.